Hi, my name is Dr. Lee Wellard, and I'm here at the Red River Studio. And tonight we're going to be covering something a little bit different. Normally I talk about health, but tonight I'll be sharing with you a message about the stars. So we're going to be actually covering a lot of information tonight. We're going to do two parts to this program. And the first part, we're going to be covering the incredible immensity of space, the glory of the heavens, and then the second part, we're going to be looking at how God has written his signature in the stars and how the stars can actually reveal to us not only the character of God, but can also reveal something about what the scriptures say. So I'll keep you hanging, and hopefully you'll stay with us till the end. I'll just share with you briefly my journey into the stars. When I was very young, probably no more than 4 or 5 years of age, I used to love going out looking at the stars and always wondered what it was that was out there, if there's anyone else that was out there. I wasn't raised in a Christian home, so I didn't really have much background as to God the Creator back then, but I did have an appreciation for astronomy. By the time I was 10, I had my first telescope, and by the time I was 14, I joined the Perth Astronomical Society, and then by the time I was 22 or 23, I had my own private observatory in Australia. Beautiful observatory out there on top of a hill, and got some spectacular views out there, and ended up teaching astronomy for a few years until love for health actually eclipsed this, but I still am actively engaged in what we call astrophotography, which is where we're taking pictures of the stars. So I'll be sharing some of my own images tonight, and also I'll be sharing with you what we're looking at and what they can teach us about the Lord. Now, it says in Jeremiah chapter 33, verse 22, as the host of heaven cannot be numbered, neither the sand of the sea measured. Now, this was quite a startling proclamation back in the time of Jeremiah, because it was considered that the stars could be numbered. In fact, they gave a number to all the host, but Jeremiah equates it to the sand of the sea, which is quite a different story. And I'm glad that the Lord didn't let Adam name the stars or number the stars. He'd be still there trying to count them. But it says here in Psalm 147, verse 4, he telleth the number of the stars, he calleth them all by their names. And this is going to play more of a significant role in part 2, because God named the stars, and everything that God puts a name on actually has a meaning attached to it. And if you look at the size of the sun, you'll see that it is quite big in comparison to the other planets. Now, you remember that verse that said in Jeremiah that the sand of the heavens actually in number are like the sands of the sea. And they've actually done studies, astronomers have done studies on trying to number the stars. And would you believe that just from what we can see, it's about 10,000 times every grain of sand in all the world. Okay, so if you have to imagine every grain of sand as a star, representing the star, it would be about 10,000 times that. All right, so we're looking at incredible numbers, and when we look at the sun, we're reminded of how big things are, and yet how small things are as well, because we're going to be showing you that the sun is not the largest star by any stretch of the imagination, and you can see down there at that arrow, the third little dot there from the right hand side, you'll see that that's the Earth. And the Earth is is about 1 million times smaller than the sun. In fact, if you were to scoop the Earth out like a giant watermelon, you could fit the Earth into about 1.3 million times. So it's pretty big in comparison, and I've had the pleasure of visually looking at the sun detail. I have a solar filter at home that enables me to look at the hydrogen alpha frequency, which enables me to look at lots of detail on the sun. I can see sunspots, I can see solar flares and the chromosphere, and a lot of detail. Don't do that, by the way. Don't try that at home. You have to have a special filter to do that. And you can see there the sun is very, very small. It's the small dot down below on the left-hand side. And that is just like a pixel, really, maybe 4 pixels, I'm not sure. But in comparison with the other stars, these, by the way, are some of the biggest stars in our galaxy, but not necessarily the only stars. It's certainly not the only stars as big as this. And we have Antares there, which is in the constellation Scorpio. And that is incredibly big. In fact, if you were to put that where our sun is right now, it would engulf the orbit of Mercury and Venus and even Earth and Jupiter, and Mars and Jupiter, going out there between Jupiter and Saturn. So it's an immense sun. And so it's just as big as the sun is in comparison with the Earth. So you can see how we're going quite up in scale here in comparison. This is a sun called Stephenson 2-18, and there's the sun in comparison with this star. And in fact, if you wait to the end, I'll show you a star that will make this star look like the sun. So we've got quite a journey. And just think about this, that the solar system is really, in comparison with just the galaxy, it would be like, say the Earth, say the Earth is the galaxy, and the solar system is like a tennis ball in size, as far as the dimensions of it. Okay, as far as the diameter of it in relation to the galaxy. And we're just one of many, many different galaxies. And think about this, that, man claims to have gotten no further than the moon, right? And if you were to take a Tesla and drive it at, let's say, 100 miles an hour, it would take you quite a few weeks to actually arrive at the moon. I forget exactly how long it would take, but it's about 240,000 miles to the moon, right? And so this is our closest celestial body, and yet it's just nothing in comparison to the other objects out in space. And we have Mars, which is about 140 million miles away, and this has been landed on by a spacecraft called Viking 1, and taking soil samples there. You wouldn't want to breathe on Mars, not a sort of nice atmosphere, carbon dioxide there. But we need to go a little bit faster than the speed of light in order to get to our nearest star. Now we're told in the book of Daniel, chapter 9, verse 23, at the beginning of thy supplication the commandment came forth, and I am come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore, understand the matter and consider the vision. So God sent Gabriel to Daniel, and it doesn't say where Gabriel came from. So let's just say, for example, that Gabriel was out there in Orion somewhere. And Orion constellation is around 1,700 light years away. And for those who don't know, a light year is about 5.8 trillion miles. It's not a measurement of so much time, but distance, right? When we're talking about light year, it's really to do with distance, and that's how far the light will travel in a year. So it will take about 1,700 years for light to travel at 186,000 miles per second to get to Orion. So if Gabriel was traveling from Orion, he would have to, and there's beautiful Orion Nebula. I took this picture just a few months ago, and it just thrills me. I feel like I'm on sacred ground when I look at Orion and I see the beautiful colors, and it just looks like it's hiding some beautiful shiny object behind there. And I believe that Jesus is going to come through Orion, but I'll share more about that a little later. But if Gabriel was to come from that area, he would have to travel much faster than the speed of light. So, as we mentioned before, Orion 1,700 light years away would take 1,700 years for Gabriel to get to Earth if he was traveling at the speed of light. But it took him less than 4 minutes to get to Daniel. So there's 525,400 minutes in a year. You divide that by 4 equals 131,400. And so we divide that by 4 because that was about 4-minute prayer. And so you times this by 1,700, which is the amount of light years it's away. So he would have to travel at 223,380,000 times faster than light. So in miles an hour, that would be, 1,342,800,000 trillion miles per hour. Okay, so that's quite a speed there. And I'm sure he didn't even get a speeding ticket for that. So if Gabriel was in the nearest galaxy, let's just say he was just in a closest galaxy to us, then that would be an additional 132,362 times faster than even him coming from Orion. So that's pretty quick, isn't it? I mean, we've got to travel according to the speed of thought, I think, in heaven. We will be able to just think and we're there. In Daniel chapter 12, verse 3, it says, "Those who are wise will shine like the brightness of the heavens, and those who lead many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever." This is a beautiful picture of Pleiades. And Pleiades is known as the 7 sisters. And this is actually more than 7. There's about 400 stars in there. And God said to Job, "Can you bind the sweet influences of Pleiades?" And Pleiades is known as the only bound cluster. That means the stars are not disrupting. They're like a flock of geese, just staying together through space. It's amazing. They're united in the influence of God's love, and they're immersed in wispy clouds of gas, as you see here. Beautiful reflection nebulae. And I've looked at this many times, and it just never fails to draw admiration as I look at these images. This is another one I took of Horsehead Nebula, and this is actually found in the constellation Orion, and it's very close in proximity to the Orion Nebula. And if you get a wide enough field of view, you can actually see them both close together. And you can see that horsehead there. And if I was to zoom in, let me see if I can just zoom in here. All right, and I'll put my little cursor on this dot here, right there. Okay, so our solar system wouldn't even fit into that dot. All right, so that's how That's a big horse head. That's the biggest horse head you're ever going to see, I can tell you that. So that's the Horsehead Nebula. And this is a nebula. Now, for those who don't know, a nebula is a cloud of gas and dust. It's a bit like a firework when it explodes in the heavens, and all the beautiful gas appears from the light of the stars, usually shining through it, and lights it up. There are different types of nebulas. Actually, this is a combination because the Horsehead actually is made up of a gas that's absorbing light, and we call that an absorption nebula. But either side of that, we have a beautiful reflection nebula. Now we're going to go a little further out. We're going to actually go past the edge of our known galaxy, and we're going to look at Andromeda. And this galaxy is pretty big, and it's the only galaxy that you can see with your naked eye. You can't see it very well. It's just a little smudge in the sky, but it nevertheless can be seen, especially in dark area. And if you get a good set of binoculars, you can make this out quite clearly. And we have about 300 billion stars in the Andromeda. I took this image over multiple nights and combined all the different frequencies together, all the different images through different filters, hydrogen, oxygen, sulfur, and so forth. And it shows a really bright core there, so bright you can't even see the individual stars in there. And so that galaxy that the Andromeda, is only about 2.5 million light years away. But we're going to go a little further out here, and we're going to go to the Whirlpool galaxy, also known as M51. And this is actually a galaxy that has two galaxies colliding. It's absolutely amazing that these two galaxies are just caught up together. And galaxies are so big, they're so vast, they're so spread out, that if two galaxies actually collided, there may not be one star that hits another, because the stars are they're so far apart from each other. It's like imagining a little dust particle that's floating in the sky. What are the odds of it hitting another dust particle 20 miles away? Okay, so even though it's going towards it, very, very low odds. So there's a lot more space than there is matter. And of course, you can't have matter without space. You can't have space without matter. And so this is why God has given us eternity, so that we can enjoy the blessing of traveling to all these different galaxies and worlds that he has made. So this particular galaxy, the Whirlpool, is about 21 million light years away. But we're only just starting here, because there are many other galaxies. In fact, I took a shot of this image called the Marconian chain, the Markarian chain, and this is actually a group of galaxies that are sort of in the same area in Virgo, and some of these galaxies are only maybe 30-40 million light years away. Some are up to about 160 or more million light years away. So the further, of course, they are away from you, the harder it is to see them, and the smaller they appear even in a telescope. And so we can only see these small elongated galaxies, very faint to the to even look through in a telescope. In fact, even taking images like that, when you actually look at it through a telescope, it's going to be very different than if you took an image through a telescope, because your eye is picking up only about 1/60th of a second, whereas when you're taking an image over multiple hours, you're getting millions of times more light, and that brings out a lot more detail. This is actually called an Owl Nebula, and you can't see it very well. I can see it better actually on my screen than on this screen, but it actually is only over 2,200 light years away, but you can see there's a galaxy just near it. Let me see if I can move my cursor here. Alright, there's a galaxy right there, and that's 765 million light years away. And there is a quasar right here, and that is 8.6 billion light years away, right there. And there's another one down here that's 10 billion light years away, but you can hardly really see that in the image. I think it's right about there. So we're looking at pretty incredible distances right now. We're looking at at getting closer to the edge of our universe. Now or should I say visible universe. The bigger the telescopes we get, the more we see. And some people are saying, some astronomers are saying, and these are secular astronomers, they're saying that the universe is endless, just keeps going on, never ends. And so there's no boundary to it. There's no like, okay, dark matter beyond it. Okay, it's just continually, if you were to travel in space, the idea would be perpetual stars wherever you went. Which is absolutely mind-blowing because our brains cannot compute of something that is infinite, right? Because our minds are finite. And so, but God has put things out there to blow our minds, and that's one thing that the stars do, is they declare the glory of God by declaring how powerful He is, how incredibly wise and all-knowing and just undescribable as far as his power, his unending power. And one of the things the stars teach us, that we're never alone, because every star is connected to every other star. And there's this gravitational web where it's like space itself is moved, and so when one star is headed in a certain direction, it actually affects every other star. And it's really mind-blowing, and it's like God is saying that, if I can direct these stars, then how much more can I direct you? And it's like He's also saying that your influence reaches through the universe. And we're connected, we're interconnected. Every one of us has an influence upon every other person. Even though that may be very small, it's still an influence. And we can use that for good or for evil. Now, I just want to finish up this section by sharing with you an image that was taken. This was not taken by me. This was taken by the Hubble Space Telescope. And this was taken with a far infrared telescope, and it was pointed at an area of the sky that was as small as looking through a plastic straw. Okay, so if you can imagine looking through a plastic straw, and the area of space was that big, in as far as the distance from your eye to the end of the straw. And so the telescope was looking at this very, very small area, and it's completely dark. So from Earth, we can't really see much going on up there at all. But when they took this long exposure image, they found 3,000 galaxies up there. And then they did another image later on, and they found 6,000. And then the James Webb did another image, and they found 20,000. Okay, 20,000 galaxies in one small area, no bigger than the diameter of a straw in the heavens. In an area where it was completely supposed to be void of stars and galaxies. And so it just shows you, friends, how incredible an inheritance that we have to look forward to, that God has placed these marvelous islands, these island universes out there for us to enjoy. And I believe that we'll even get to share the story of Jesus personally with a lot of these unfallen worlds. And so that's something I'm looking forward to. So we're just going to take a break, and we'll come back for part 2 of The Heavens Declare the Glory of God.